So, what are the what are all of the reasons that they would cut the benefits off? I mean, the two that I can think of is you went back to work full time, so you don't qualify technically,
Right.
or for whatever reason, Social Security has concluded that you've improved to the point that you're no longer disabled. Are there any other reasons, or is that pretty much it?
No, for a CDR, I mean, a lot of times they would just cut you off not doing a CDR. I mean, if you went back to work and worked above the SGA substantial gainful activity level for a certain amount of time, then they cut you off. It's not really a CDR. They're just like, okay, you've returned to the work.
Yeah, right.
We're not going to do a review of your case. I mean, once we've talked about it before, the math don't lie.
Yeah.
You know, you've returned to the workforce, so they would just cut the benefits. But that's not a CDR. CDR is, you know, if there are earnings, but they're not disqualifying earnings. Something has changed though. So, you know, they didn't have any earnings, or they had really less earnings, but now they're not over the limit, but their earnings have either popped up or they've gotten higher. Therefore, it's not wrong for them to conclude that, you know, something's changed and you've gotten better,
Yeah.
you're able to work more hours, you're making more money. And then there is, like you said, is it just a random thing? Well, it's not supposed to be, but it is, where, you know, you were supposed to get a review in 3 years and you've been on benefits for 8 years, and all of a sudden this CDR pops out. Well, why? Well, because they caught up and they're like, okay, we needed to do this a few years back. And nothing triggered it other than, you know, you were 28 years old when you got put on disability, and now we're going to see, you know, if your condition has stayed the same or it's gotten better. They don't really care if it's worsened, because it's worsened.
Yeah, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah. But so the main trigger, the ones that we see the most, are they just believe that it's time to look at your case and there's a possibility that you got better. Now, if they cease the case, and that's what they call it a cessation. It's a denial, but it's really a cessation because you've been on, and they're going to cut you off. They do it, I hesitate to say it, but they do it fairly gently. It's not, you're no longer disabled, boom, and your benefits quit. It's, you're no longer disabled, and therefore we're going to pay you for the next couple of months. And after that couple of months, if you don't appeal the decision, then we are ceasing you and you won't get any benefits. So you can appeal it, and this is the most, if our viewers don't get anything else out of this episode on cessation CDR cases, they have to get this. If you've paid any attention to any of our prior podcasts, you know that the appeal time frame, the deadline to file an appeal in almost all cases in Social Security is 60 days. That doesn't change in a CDR case. However, if you want your benefits to continue while you're appealing, you got 10 days to let them know. And if you don't tell them within 10 days that I want my benefits to continue, then the appeal will go on, but you're no longer going to be getting a check. So keep in mind, it's really the only time I can think of where you got such a short time frame to actually make a plea to Social Security, and it's 10 days. You got 10 days from the time that they notify you, we're going to cease you, and I want my benefits to continue while you're undergoing the cessation. Most of the time, and the question that begs to be asked is, okay, well, what if I lose my appeal? Do I have to pay those benefits back? Sometimes, it's not always a no, and it's not always a yes. Most of the time, it's a no. You don't have to pay it back. But
would that be because they issue the overpayment, but then you file the waiver, or is there a scenario where they actually just don't issue an overpayment?
No, it's just a scenario where they don't issue the overpayment.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they can, and it's in the, it's in all the paperwork that they send out. If you, and they'll warn you if you elect for, it's what they call benefit continuation. Okay, you're going through the appeal process, and you told us within 10 days that you wanted your benefits to continue. There's a chance that if we continue paying you through the appeals process, when that's done, and we uphold our denial, uphold our cessation, that we are indeed going to cut you off, you are obligated to pay that back. For whatever reason, we don't see that happen all the time.
Okay.
And once again, it's Social Security, so I can't tell you what happens. Normally, in an SSI case, I just don't see that they would go after you. I mean, you're not going to have anything anyway. If you're on SSI, you don't have any real income or resources for them to, we're going to get that overpayment back. SSDI, I think they'd probably come after you and issue you an overpayment. So you got to pay that back. And there are some, certainly some situations where they would be quite serious about getting that money back. But again, the main thing that you need to remember for this is that you got 10 days to elect for benefit continuation, or else your checks are going to stop while you're going through the appeal process.
Yeah, let's break that down a little bit more, because obviously the reason it's 10 days is because they want you to just miss it, because then you just like, oh, it's only been 10 days, and then you're just out of luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's 10 days. There's 60 days to file the appeal. That's the exact same as a denial letter.
Sure.
And the letter that you get actually looks like a denial letter. It's the same way.
Yep.
If you disagree with our decision, you have 60 days to file an appeal. That's 60 days for the appeal. Separately, and this doesn't happen automatically if you file the appeal, you also have to opt into receiving benefits while it's under review. And that's what we're talking about. That's 10 days, right?
Correct.
Do you do that by mail? Do you call them? Is it
Call them?
Yeah.
I would definitely call them. If you call them and do it by mail, or if you have access to a fax machine, obviously, if you're represented, if you're represented, your representative is probably going to fax it. My client elects for benefit continuation. Faxes, I know they're going out of style and stuff like that. Let me tell you, as an old school guy, faxes are wonderful. They come with a date stamp on them. I can verify that I sent, the Social Security office this on such and such a date. It shows that it was received. I'm sorry. We've got the best verification that's possible, other than a witness in your office seeing that you received it. So we still fax, because we want to make sure that there is a paper trail showing that it was delivered. But yeah. And the appeals process is different. So the cessation itself is kind of like an initial case. Somebody's looking at it. The criteria is a lot different, and I do want to go into that if you ask me about it. But the appeal process is different too, because at a normal case, lower level case, it goes initial, reconsideration, hearing, appeals counsel. In a cessation case, it would be like the initial review of the CDR, the continuing disability review. And if you appeal it, the recon level is actually before a hearing officer. It's not an ALJ, not an administrative law judge, but it's a hearing officer, an HO. I'll keep the jokes to myself. But that hearing officer will literally hold a hearing. They're usually in the local office. I imagine they're by phone now, just like the ALJ hearings are. And the hearing officer will issue a decision which is strikingly similar to what an administrative law judge would issue. If you appeal that decision, then we're back basically on track the way it would be. So basically the reconsideration, it's still a reconsideration, but it's before a hearing officer instead of just the same claims examiner who looked at it the first time. And then when you get beyond that, it's the same, the appeals, the administrative law judge, and then the appeals counsel, and then federal court if you want to go crazy.
So what is the HO look like? Is it a hearing with the client, or
It is, and the representative.
so it's basically just another hearing?
I've attended several of them. Yeah.
Okay. Is it around the same amount of time? Do they ask pretty much the same questions?
Yeah, it's the hearings themselves before an administrative law judge are billed as informal conferences, and this one's the same way. The the hearing officer is not a judge. They're just an employee of the disability determination section. Same people who do the initial and recon cases. The same pool of employees. It's a higher level, obviously, because you're not going to be an HO, a hearing officer, unless you've been there a long time and you have some experience under your belt. But so that's the big difference in the actual how these appeals progress throughout the system.